In the eyes of many, children faces life with a mature attitude that is both heart-wrenching and admirable. Despite the modest economic circumstances at home, Queen father toiled for right hand. Although the bleeding stopped, Zhang Wang, Angie returned home in a somber mood. She worried that she might have hurt the aunt's face and caused her pain. Her father told her that it was the aunt who had hit her first, but Zhang Wang insisted that she had hit the aunt first. She said that if she had the chance to see the aunt again, she would apologize to her first. Seeing his kind and understanding daughter, Lao Zhang felt a mix of emotions in his heart. However, fate was unfair to Zhang Wang. This kind-hearted little angel had never enjoyed the joyful childhood that children of her age should have. Every day, before daylight, she walked alone on the rugged mountain path to school with a flashlight in her hand. Due to long-term malnutrition, her body was weak, and she always came last in physical education classes. Nevertheless, she excelled academically and always scored full marks in exams. Although Lao Zhang had no great abilities and could only make a living by selling bamboo baskets he wove, he couldn't provide his daughter with a luxurious life. However, every time his daughter scored full marks in an exam, he would reward her with a packet of instant noodles, our favorite food. Despite their humble lives, the father and daughter were always content and happy. The next morning, when Zhang Wang woke up and washed up, she noticed that the water in the basin gradually turned red. She realized that she was bleeding from her nose again. Following the doctor's instructions, she raised her hands to try to stop the bleeding. When her father read and saw the dried blood on her face, he knew that she had bled from her nose again. Thinking it might be due to her having a bit of a cold, he didn't pay much attention and even gave her a grasshopper he had made. Zhang Wang happily spun around with the grass. Suddenly, her father sensed something was wrong and quickly took her to the hospital. However, upon hearing his request, the chief flew into a rage, mistakenly believing that Lao Zhang was exploiting his daughter's condition to gain sympathy. In his anger, he punched Lao Zhang hard in the face. Despite the pain, Lao Zhang refused to give up and kicks from his men. One of them grabbed a liquor bottle and savagely smashed it over Lao Zhang's head. When Lao Zhang woke up, groggy and hurting, he worried that his daughter might see his injuries and be concerned. So, he endured the pain and washed the blood from his face with water. However, his careful daughter Zhang Wang, she looked at her own child die without a fight. In his desperation, Lao Zhang saw a small advertisement in the bathroom, advertising a phone number for someone willing to buy kidneys at a high price. Believing it to be true, he intended to sell one of his kidneys to raise money for his daughter's treatment. The buyer offered 300,000 yuan for a kidney, but required a 5,000 yuan deposit first. However, Lao Zhang was already penniless, having used all his savings to pay for his daughter's hospital fees. When asked how much money he had on hand, Lao Zhang took out all the money he had, which amounted to only 700 yuan. The buyer agreed to take the 700 yuan and said he would figure out the rest. So, Lao Zhang arranged to meet the buyer 3 days later. When Lao Zhang returned to the hospital with a heavy heart, his younger sister told him that Zhang Wang was missing. Panicked, they searched frantically, eventually finding her. He wasn't selling his drawings to seek treatment for himself, but to raise money to repair the house for his father. His father wept as he told Zhang Wang this. He had thought that the slender thread of hope would be like the dawn's first light, guiding him and his daughter on their journey. But as fate would have it, the greater the hope, the heavier the disappointment. 3 days later, Lao Zhang arrived punctually at the hotel, only to learn from the landlady that the man who had promised to buy his kidney was a fraud. His heart sank, and the fragile hope he had clung to vanished in an instant, leaving the world around him devoid of color. With nothing left but despair and loss, Lao Zhang had no choice but to take his daughter home. Along the way, he tried his best to conceal his sorrow and provide his daughter with.
还想照张相。
This way, whenever Dad misses her, he can look at the photos and recall those wonderful moments. Lao Zhang deliberately bought his daughter her favorite instant noodles and took her to pick out a pink hairband, hoping that she would spend every day happily. Finally, the father and daughter went to the photo studio together, leaving behind their only joint photo, capturing the warmth and happiness of that moment. As they prepared for bed, Zhang Wang whispered to him.
我死了，你就把我葬在后山坡上，这样我就能天天看到你， 看到我。
After Zhang Wang left the hospital, the nurse Xue, who had been taking care of her, felt an indescribable sadness in her heart. She decided to seek more help and found her cousin, who worked at a newspaper office, hoping to bring a bit of warmth to Zhang Wang through the power of the news. The next day, guided by Xue, they drove to Zhang Wang's home, eager to learn more about every moment of this resilient little girl's growth. Lao Zhang, the honest and kind father, told the reporter everything about finding Zhang Wang and all she had gone through. After returning home, the cousin wrote a deeply touching report about Zhang Wang's story. The news, titled 7-year-old leukemia girl arranges for her own future, quickly made its way to the front page and attracted widespread attention from society. Major radio stations and broadcasts reported on the incident, and even Zhang Wang's school began organizing spontaneous donation activities. It was a battle between warmth and indifference, but warmth ultimately prevailed. After Zhang Wang's story spread, many kind people spontaneously donated money for her. Even the seer, editor even the children who had bullied Zhang Wang before cried and begged their parents to donate. These acts of kindness warmed Zhang Wang's heart like a stream of warmth. She was brought back to the hospital, and many well-wishers came to visit her. The hospital also began formal treatment, and despite the hardships, Zhang Wang maintained a resilient smile. During the bone marrow biopsy, the 7-year-old Zhang Wang bit her lip and didn't make a sound. Her attending doctor said in an interview that he had never seen such a strong child. After the surgery, when the reporter left a fruit basket at the door and quietly left. Nevertheless, Zhang Wang's condition remained critical. After a week of chemotherapy, she began to experience vomiting symptoms. Although her condition had stabilized, everyone knew that only a suitable bone marrow match could allow for surgery. The hospital was also searching diligently, but the cure rate for bone marrow matches from outsiders was low. Only finding Zhang Wang's birth parents could increase the success rate of the surgery. Therefore, the cousin accompanied Lao Zhang on a journey to search for Zhang Wang's parents, hoping to find them for a bone marrow match. However, after searching through the surrounding villages, they still didn't find any clues. Inside the hospital, the doctors were also doing their utmost to find a suitable bone marrow match. When the doctor checked on Zhang Wang and saw her sitting on the bed barefoot, she quickly urged her to put on her socks. But Zhang Wang smiled and said,
妈妈，我只有一双袜子，那双袜子已经破得不能穿了。
Upon hearing these, the doctor's heart was filled with mixed emotions. This 7-year-old child, who should have been enjoying a worry-free childhood, had endured so much tribulation. He had never experienced the joy and innocence that was supposed to be his at this age, but instead, he had prematurely borne the weight of life. A warmth rose in the doctor's heart, and he decided to give Zhang Wang some special care. He gently said to Zhang Wang, "Child, I will buy you a pair of red little shoes, and pair them with white socks, just like the Snow White in storybooks." The doctor's words seemed to bring a ray of warm sunshine to Zhang Wang. During chemotherapy, Zhang Wang endured immense pain, but he still bravely overcame 9 major obstacles, including septic shock and hemolytic sepsis. His maturity and resilience moved everyone deeply, yet death seemed to have no intention of sparing him. One day, Zhang Wang suddenly developed symptoms of gastrointestinal bleeding, causing everyone to worry. The doctor solemnly instructed Lao Zhang not to give Zhang Wang any hard food and to prepare for the worst. Zhang Wang seemed to be aware that his days were numbered. While his father was asleep, he secretly wrote a letter in his notebook. The contents of the letter might be his final farewell and longing for this world. On this day, Zhang Wang's condition improved slightly. He told the doctor that he had always had a dream, but he couldn't tell anyone about it, even his closest father.
我想回去上学，我要带上爸爸，他为了我受了好多苦，我不要让他天天背负了。所以有一句话我只能对你说，连爸爸也不能告诉。刘妈妈，我还不想死，我想每天给爸爸唱歌。
The doctor's smile instantly froze on his face as he gazed deeply at the little Zhang Wang in front of him, filled with emotion. This child, he was too understanding to a point of being heartbreaking, understanding to the point where many people forgot that he was still only a 7-year-old child. Zhang Wang gently handed the pain, and those who had been concerned for him all showed signs of grief. Nurse Xia handed the letter that Zhang Wang had written to his cousin. With trembling hands, his cousin SL Ali opened the notebook. In the end, Zhang Wang wore a pristine princess dress, adorned with a pink headband, white socks, and red shoes, resembling Snow White from a fairy tale as he gracefully departed, embarking on amidst the coming and going of people. Familiar Zhang Wang farewell, expressing their final respects and farewells. The aunt whom Zhang Wang had always held dear also attended the farewell. Standing alone by Zhang Wang's grave, she gazed at the tombstone, her heart filled with endless sorrow and nostalgia. Gently, she laid down a bouquet of flowers, as if telling Zhang Wang that she would never forget this kind and sensible child. Meanwhile, the fortunate young boy, who received Zhang Wang's cornea successfully, is inspired by a real-life figure named Qi Yan. Despite the endless suffering brought by fate, he repaid the world with boundless kindness, facing the various challenges of life with tenderness and resilience. On his tombstone, the words "I was here, and I was good" are inscribed, which are not on why a praise of his innocent and kind nature, but also a profound inspiration for each of us. Even when life is fraught with difficulties, we can still choose to be kind and resilient, leaving a warm imprint on the world.